This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So we're back with Liz Andersen from American Pacific Reverse Mortgage Group. And we are discussing the similarities, actually, between having a reverse mortgage, which is a good thing. This isn't your grandparents' reverse mortgage where the banks were actually taking advantage of people. But this is actually a savvy investor tool. It's something that helps people, right, who are on fixed incomes. Like, there's a lot of great applications to reverse mortgages. And in fact, it's somewhat similar to winning the lottery in the sense that, so what's the lottery at right now, Liz? I think it's
like over $1 billion.
It's right around $1 billion, yeah. So, man, I don't know what I would do if I won even a fraction of that. But with the lottery, you get the option of, hey, do I want the lump sum or do I want monthly installments? And so with a reverse mortgage, it's a very similar type of a situation, right?
Yeah, actually, it's actually, I would say, a little bit better.
Better than the lottery. There you go.
Because you don't have 2 options of how to take payment. You have 3 options.
And you don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah. Yep.
And
winner, chicken dinner.
There you go. Winner. So let's talk about some examples that you have and people that you've worked with. I think you mentioned your dad has a great story.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because the other thing is people often think that reverse mortgages are a last resort loan, right? That only people that can't live off of their current income need a reverse mortgage. Yeah. And so a lot of people are embarrassed to say, I need a reverse mortgage, or, I don't want anybody to know, my family members. On the contrary, there's so many different diverse ways to use a reverse mortgage. And I'm going to start off with my dad's story, because it's actually, it's a little comical the way it ended up. When I first got into this industry, like I mentioned 15 years ago, it was in the downturn of the market, and I had gotten laid off of I was a title rep. Oh. So, and back then it was interesting. They had title reps that called on lenders, and then they had title reps that called on agents. Well, when the market crashed and there was no more refinances, guess who got laid off?
The lender.
Yeah, the lender. Reps. Yeah, lender title reps. And so I was one of those at the time. And I had worked for the company I work for now in a different capacity before going into title. So my old boss called me and he said, hey, I have an idea and a position for you. And we talked about it. And at that point in time, it wasn't even about, I didn't know anything about reverse mortgage. And it wasn't even about that. It was just, I needed a paycheck and I needed a job, and I really wanted to stay in this industry. And so I started from the ground up and started teaching people like you, realtors, how to use this program and how it would benefit their clients. When I called my parents and I told them that I had got a job, and they asked, well, what are you going to be doing? And I said, I'm going to be doing reverse mortgage. And they didn't know what that was. And so even me at the time, I was really unclear about how it all worked. And so I explained to them what it was, how a reverse mortgage worked. And my dad was like, what kind of shady company are you working for that doesn't make a payment on their home? Right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, Dad, it's legitimate. Trust me, I'm working for somebody that I respect and trust. And so I'm staying here. And so they were not for it. But anyways, here I am.
Was it Papa Mac? Who were you working for?
Actually, no, not Papa Mac. I was working for a loan officer under Papa Mac. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
The Mac family for sure. So anyways, fast forward, my dad has always had investment properties, very savvy at, acquiring properties. And he was also a business owner. We grew up in Truckee, a small town. Yeah. And, but he did very well for himself. And at the downturn of the market, there was all these bank-owned homes on the market. I mean, there was so many back then. And he called me one day and he said, I'm going to go, quote, look at properties. And I said, Dad, you should probably, if you're going to put an offer in on a house, you should probably get pre-qualified by a traditional lender before you go look. Because his thing was, he would say he was going to just look, and then he would come back, put a deposit on a house. And so
I do the same thing to Valerie. I'm just going to go look, and then I come back and I bought. Looking's buying.
Yeah. That's what I said. Okay, I know how this goes. So at the time, traditional guidelines for lending had tightened up so much that I just wish that he would have done that ahead of time. And he didn't. So my sister calls me a couple hours later and she's like, did Dad tell you he put a deposit down on a house? And I said, no, but I kind of figured that was going to happen. So he calls me. He sends me over all his paperwork, documents for a traditional loan officer to look at to make sure that he qualifies. And it took all of about 20 minutes. And they're like, your dad isn't going to be able to get a loan, traditional loan.
Oh, really?
And here's the reasons. He was business owner. He wrote off a lot. You know, times were tough at that time. He wasn't making a whole lot of money. And so when I called him back and I said, hey, you don't qualify. And he said, but I have great credit and I have 20% to put down. And I said, that doesn't work right now. Like right now, things are so tight. And I said, you're going to have a really hard time getting a loan if you even are able to get a loan. And so he said, I know the bank next door. That's where I bank. I live in a small town. They know me. I'll get a loan.
Okay.
He calls me 2 days later and he's like, I can't get a loan. And I said, kind of told you. So he's kind of racking his brain. And in my mind, I'm thinking reverse mortgage. He owns his home free and clear. But I wasn't going to be the one to bring that up again. So my sister calls me and she says, have you talked to Dad about doing a reverse mortgage? And I said, I don't want to be the one to bring it up again. So she says, let me see what I can do. So she calls him. He calls me back. Hey, let's have a family meeting. Bring up the paperwork for a reverse mortgage. Show me how it all works.
Okay.
So we get up there. We have a conversation. At that time, now the market was really low. Values were low. His primary residence was worth $675,000. Okay. And that was in the low peak of the market or low part of the market. And so I ran the numbers at the time with where the current rates were. And he was able to access $337,000 available in funds.
So 50% basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Back then it was 50%, different now, but yeah. And so the property that he had put a deposit down on, that was going for $180,000.
Wow.
Right? So
where was it? Was it in Truckee?
No, he actually purchased the property in Reno. They're about 35 minutes, 35 minutes. Yeah. So he went to Reno.
Man, that house in Reno, does he still have the house?
No.
Or does the family still have it?
Wait till you hear what happened.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
This is a really awesome outcome. So he bought it for $180,000. So he pulled $180,000 in a lump sum. So that is one way you can receive proceeds, lump sum. So he pulled out $180,000
tax-free money
at closing. He purchased the house in Reno, right? And of course, you do the reverse mortgage on the home that is your primary residence.
Yep.
And you have no payment.
So not only does he not pay taxes on it, but he's not making a payment on it.
He's not required to make a payment.
Wow.
Okay. So he bought the Reno property cash, no payment. So the things that you're responsible for, of course, property taxes, homeowner insurance, and HOAs. Okay. Yeah. So he made that house in Reno a rental. Okay. So at that time, he rented it out for $2,000 a month.
Wow.
Okay. Fast forward, he kept that home until 5 years ago.
Okay.
He sold it for $430,000.
And he paid how much for it?
$180,000.
$180,000. Wow.
Okay. Here's the other thing. So he did that. And here's what is really unique is that his whole intent the entire time was to make a payment. He wanted to get a traditional loan, right? He could have made those payments.
Yeah.
Well, he says he could have, but then the market continued to tank. But he, when he could, made a payment on the reverse mortgage to keep that balance down, right? No penalty when you make a payment. You can pay it off at any point in time. You go to Thunder Valley, you hit the jackpot, pay off the reverse mortgage.
Win the lotto.
Yeah, win the lotto. But what ended up happening when he sold it in Reno, this is the best part of the story, he then did a 1031 exchange. And he bought a home around the corner from me where I live now.
Wow.
For $465,000. So he did take a little chunk of money out of his pocket bank account to make that happen. That is going to be their retirement home. Now it's been a while. So now it's their second home. So they go up to Truckee 5 days a week. They come here on the weekends. We get to spend time with them. And at some point in time, they will be here full time.
Wow.
But he used that as a tool, to not only at the time that he needed to, get income in a down market. He owned a restaurant for 30 years. So at that point in time, when we were in a recession, it was just him and my mom working at the restaurant. He was running the bar and waiting tables. She was in the kitchen cooking and doing the dishes. And there was times when my mom would call me and say, we had one table at lunch. So not only did that reverse mortgage help them purchase that other home, but at times it also helped them keep their business afloat.
Wow.
So this is what I saw happening when COVID hit. When there was business owners that didn't know how they were going to keep their doors open, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what are we going to do? How are we going to keep things running? How are we going to pivot enough? And where are we going to get the funds? Because we're losing business at the beginning. And so I had a lot of business owners call me and say, I need to look into a reverse mortgage because this may be my saving grace for keeping my business afloat. And so if you think about all the things that you can do with it, this is my favorite because my dad ended up selling his business, paying off the reverse mortgage. He has that home in Truckee still. He paid it off.
Wow.
He has the one down here with us. That is owned free and clear. So the question is, should somebody that is wealthy, high net worth, do a reverse mortgage? People never think about that.
No, because you're right. There is that stigma. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And that's so
my
cool.
favorite.
That's so cool that they're living next to you too.
Yeah. This is what was so funny because they came out here, they looked at homes, right? They had looked at all these homes, and then all of a sudden the realtor says, well, Liz, there's a house right around the corner from you. And I'm like, yeah, I see it. It had been on the market for a while. I go, yeah, I see it. It hasn't sold. I didn't think my parents were going to like that house, right? And so my dad's like, let's go look at it. Well, we go look at it, and we went in through the gate of the backyard because my dad's like a huge backyard person, right? And we go back there, and the backyard was huge. And my dad didn't even walk into the house because we'd seen all the other houses in the backyards weren't as big. And he goes, this is it. And my mom goes, we haven't even looked at the inside of the house. He's like, I don't care. So it turned out that, it was perfect because when they're here at some point, we want to be involved with when they get older, their care. We want to be close to them. So it just turned out, it wasn't until they got into contract and my mom called me like 2 weeks in and she's like, we didn't even ask you. Are you okay with us going to be living that close to you?
Too late now.
Yeah, no. And for us, it was the best case scenario. When they're here, how better does it get than to be around the corner?
Brings up a good point because there's a lot of people who are moving either out of state, right, for tax benefits,
correct,
cost of living. But then there's a lot of people too that are moving because they want to be closer to family. Yes. And so what you just outlined is an exact way where somebody can go, hey, I want to have the monthly mortgage.
Correct.
Here's a way where you can move closer to family and not have a monthly payment. Mm-hmm. So if you're in that age bracket, if you know somebody that's considering that, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, Liz?
The best way to reach out to me is you can reach out to me either via phone or email. So my cell number is 916-223-8869, or you can reach out to me at liz.andersen. Andersen is spelled Andersen at A as in Apple, P as in Paul, mortgage.com.
Or reach out to me and I'll be happy to connect you. All right, we'll be back right after this.
Okay, Matt, I know that you and your wife are pretty handy around the house. If something breaks, you can rewire something or fix it.
We watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Yes. But for me, like, I have a brother who's a contractor and I rely on him to do everything. I've tried to replace electrical outlets and I get shocked and it doesn't go well. But this is the thing. If you are maybe trying to sell your home and there's some things that need to be fixed before it goes on the market and you don't know what to do, good news, you can take advantage of Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves real estate team's Fix Before You List program. That's what Jerry did. His Elk Grove home needed a little bit of work before it went on the market. But once that was all done, it went on the market, and the first weekend it was sold to some Bay Area buyers. And that's what happens when you work with Johnny Jennings.
Yeah, so if you're curious how much you would get for your home, no matter what kind of condition it's in, go to tomdaves.com, type in your address, and bam, right away you find out what kind of offers you would get on your home, the low and high end. And how about this? An all cash offer from Johnny Jennings, no matter what kind of repairs your home needs. The website again is tomdaves.com, or you can call up Johnny Jennings at 855-TOM-DAVES. License number 581837.